Hello team and welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map today. A lot of islands. It's 2v2 between Dr. No in blue and Damon Sav 666 in red, and on Bravo team Kartoffelman in orange and Infenzia in teal. We'll notice that there's actually a ton of trade routes on the right hand side. I believe there's about 7 in total over here. In the east and in the west there's 3 trade routes. And this is the spawning locations. Damon's on the right-hand side. Their teammate, Dr. No, is in the bottom left. This in orange is Kartoffelman spawning very close to Damon. And Infenzia is in the bottom here going for 3 docks. Looks like all cruisers, rather 2 cruisers and a transport boat immediately for Infenzia. 4 industry for orange off of 2 cruisers and a submarine pen. If we actually check the vision, Damon can't see Kartoffelman, and so Kartoffelman won't be able to see Damon either. So as soon as these boats pop out for both players, they're going to find out real quick that they're going to be in very close quarters naval combat. The advantage will likely go to Damon going off these 3 cruisers that will pop out of these docks relatively quick, because they're going to take on 2 destroyers and potentially a submarine for Kartoffelman, which in a straight up fight, those 3 cruisers will be able to win it. Damon's gone across here on a cross pick, taking these 2 water territories to connect themselves to the rightmost island and go for 2 towns immediately to start setting up these trade routes. Infenzia building some industry and a barracks. First transport boat is almost done. And it looks like Dr. No is going to try to land on Infenzia's island immediately off of 4 barracks. And a first transport boat, it'll be interesting to see what Dr. No says to go for here. It looks like it's going to be a destroyer as the next boat. So a very interesting situation. We can still see, as soon as these cruisers pop out, it'll be a funny reaction. I can't imagine Kartoffelman's going to be happy to see these 3 cruisers pretty much at their docks immediately. First submarine is out now for Kartoffelman, so Kartoffelman might actually see this first. Subs have very decent vision. I guess this one's not going to go far enough. It's going to start capping this water territory. And orange also has a town on the way and building the first refinery. Damon also builds their first refinery. It's very important for a lot of Navy play. First dock now shows up in Kartoffelman's vision, so Infenzia and Kartoffelman know where Damon is. Infenzia sees the landing from Dr. No here on their landmass and is moving this transport boat over, presumably with the intention to pick up these teal infantry and start ferrying them across the left. That plan will have to potentially change given this opener. And a power plant for Dr. No right off the bat to get these boats moving and keep them moving. Here's that first fight we're talking about. It's 2 more destroyers from orange and a second submarine. And it's 2 more cruisers for red and a transport boat, which is I think a very smart play by Damon to recognize that 3 cruisers aren't needed after these first 3 pop out. They're definitely going to be able to win this fight. Maybe with some intense submarine micro, Kartoffelman could destroy one of these cruisers. 2 cruisers isn't really enough for Damon to actually see these boats. This is, or Damon's vision, I mean the sub is going in and out of it. I think the buildings for red there were giving the extra vision. First cruiser for Infenzia is super clutch to help out here defending against 3 cruisers, which now have to make a decision whether to dive on a dock or focus on the boats. It's a great timing for Kartoffelman that these 2 destroyers show up just in time. Orange will likely not lose a dock because of this, and the second cruiser now for Infenzia on its way. And we got to check on the bottom left. Dr. No has landed and is going to dive right on this refinery. Infenzia already has a refinery set up, so this will just be a little bit of a setback if that refinery goes down. It's not entirely necessary for Infenzia at this point. 1 refinery is enough to handle this many boats. 1 cruiser for Damon goes down. The second cruiser will also fall. And now this is like a little bit of a reverse situation in that Damon is now in a little bit of a tough spot. If Infenzia and Kartoffelman both push at the same time, they might be able to take out at least one of these docks. It'll be close. The cruisers are going to pop out like midway through this fight, and Damon builds a 4th dock, probably as a just in case sort of thing. And it's a lot of water, so maybe four docks. All players seem to be going pretty dock heavy. Third dock now for Dr. No, who's continuously reinforcing this landing. And we'll be able to destroy this refinery, or an artillery piece is out now for Infenzia. So over time, Teal is definitely going to be able to stabilize here. Will likely, like we said, lose the refinery, but in general, not lose the rest of their starting buildings. Damon is outgunned at this point. 2 cruisers for Teal against 2 cruisers for Red, and then of course the rest of the boats in the picture here are all on Bravo team. Submarines on this move command, they're sitting at the max range. They're not running up to this cruiser and getting right beside it. And now the Bravo team boats target command this red dock. We'll certainly be able to destroy that before these next 2 cruisers pop out. And the third dock for Kartoffelman. Third town now for Damon, who's just going to keep building economy, which is probably a smart play. And at this point, every player has at least 3 docks on the map. I mean, we can really see it's such a Navy map. It's going to be important to keep that control. And as we've seen with Navy maps, energy is going to be a huge thing for both teams. Securing it, keeping it alive, potentially sending it to their teammates. The boats really use a lot of energy. Cruisers being the one that uses the most of the energy, and then submarines relatively close behind. I mean, someone could get at me in the comments about the exact numbers. There are folks who know this information. I just kind of eyeball it. Damon's going to lose another dock, so 3 docks immediately getting destroyed, and then Damon will likely lose this 4th dock, so Red rebuilds a dock on this side of the island. We'll see if Bravo team can actually see this. So it is in vision. There's enough boats here that collectively they can see that far. And Damon's got a 4th town on the way, shuffling infantry over to this little northern island, which does have one of the trade route ends on it. And I'm not sure who's in the better position. Kind of interesting start to the game. Infenzia now gets this scout off, sees that this is a refinery that Dr. No has built. I mean, Infenzia already knew that Dr. No was here by this point, given where that landing went. Blue's going around to try to drop where Infenzia started. This is, I think, a very strong play. Luckily for Infenzia, they have some infantry close by this farm, so it won't fall. 3 subs for Kartoffelman, rolling around the bottom of this peninsula for Damon and getting on top of these 3 docks. Very unlikely that any of these red boats are going to be able to show up. Maybe this cruiser, but 3 submarines will be able to destroy that dock relatively quick. And Infenzia is running into a little bit of energy problems off of, this 1 refinery. So Dr. No sniping that 2nd refinery is sort of a big deal in that these cruisers for Teal can't get around the back and start destroying these red towns as quickly as they could have. And we'd probably expect to see Orange start getting off this starting position. This is what this transport boat is going to do. It'll be interesting to see where Orange decides to go, because there's equal arguments, I think, for Kartoffelman to just jet off to some other island somewhere else on the map, or to just try to land directly on Damon's starting position, because Damon hasn't built a barracks or any sort of land units in general. Really only has these starting infantry capping squads still alive. Infenzia is going to start digging in along the coast with the intention probably to put artillery here that will protect this 2nd refinery. And Dr. No is starting to move off into the central island and top-down view. Just making sure that no one else is expanded in a interesting direction. Subpen in the north for Damon, who is going to use a transport boat to snipe this refinery, and it might work. There's really only this 1 submarine for Kartoffelman that would be able to get up there in time. And it's really a question of how long it takes a transport boat to destroy a refinery. I don't think we've ever seen this. What a daring play. And it's just trying its best with the little BB gun, shooting at this refinery. I have no idea how long that's going to take. It could take a while. Dr. No has now landed on this central island. There is a trade route end on this, and this is Dr. No's boat that is starting to kind of cap this ocean territory. Composition-wise, it's more cruisers from Blue and a few more transport boats, or rather, there's another one on the way. This back refinery for Dr. No is actually pretty good because there's really only like this little part of the map that navies could use to get here. They can't go around the back, so it's a very defendable refinery. I spent like so many words, so many, so much time trying to just explain. It's a pretty good gas for Blue to be getting. Cruiser shows up with the help of the subs and destroys that transport boat, which did a lot of damage to this refinery. Unfortunately, couldn't snipe it, which would have been cool. And at this point, it's really tough because Red is... Damon kind of got screwed over a little bit with like the 2v1 Navy situation at the beginning of the game. So if I had to guess, I think Bravo team is a little bit ahead here. Infenzi is starting to land on the central island as well, and will contest that against Dr. No. 3 cruisers of Teal against 3 blue cruisers. I think the blue cruisers have more health. This one Teal cruiser in the front goes down. It was damaged when it entered the fight. And the artillery pieces for Teal on the land might be able to swing this enough. We did see that Damon lost all of those docks that they had rebuilt. They've lost 1 town, will lose another town. It's 3 submarine pens for Red, heading right towards this refinery. Kartoffelman is just hanging out here to defend this refinery, which is super important. As mentioned before, the energy thing is a huge deal in a Navy game. And Damon rebuilds a dock in the north. Dr. No wins this naval fight. The dig-in is complete, and there's enough artillery pieces in here that these blue cruisers won't be able to snipe this refinery again. And a good runaround by these 2 blue cruisers. I didn't even notice this. They're going to be able to destroy one of the docks. 2 yellow cruisers are working on them, but I don't think they'll be able to destroy those blue cruisers before they're able to snipe it, and they are not able to. The first submarine for Damon gets cleared out because there's 2 subs and 2 cruisers here defending. And Red also loses that town, is going to lose another town. And this is a tough situation for Red. More cruisers from Dr. No. It's still transport boat cruiser out of Blue in the bottom left. Blue definitely has the numbers advantage here. We'll see if Dr. No can shut down this landing attempt from Infenzia before Teal gets enough units on this central island to cause a lot of problems. And pretty decent capping from these blue destroyers on the left-hand side of the map. Damon's still trying to disrupt this gas. It's important because if the Orange refinery gets sniped here, then all of the boats for Orange will stop moving. This is the only energy source for Orange at this point, and there's really no other suitable one that they could build. And as I say that, they're building this one in the south. So Kartoffelman would be fine even if this gets sniped. Airport now for Damon in the forest. Kartoffelman probably won't see this because of the stealth bonus that the forest gives, but it is very close to the coast, so if Orange sees this, the destroyers will make very quick work of this. At this point, Damon is going to start grouping up the submarines, which is probably a good call. The lines would indicate that Red is going to start trying to send a transport boat over to this little island. So is Infenzia. And I guess 3 cruisers just move through this defensive line and just shoot over it and destroy that refinery. So great play from Blue. I didn't even look here because I just didn't think that was possible with 4 artillery pieces, but I guess that 3rd cruiser does make a difference. And Infenzia is haste moving all of these cruisers. I wonder what the gas situation for Infenzia is. Okay, and we hear the beep beep. So that 2nd refinery snipe is actually a relatively big deal. Infenzia is going to rebuild one of these docks. So Teal is on 2 docks at this point. Blue's still on 3, starting to build this town in the bottom left, which is connected to this trade network. And Damon's got 3 subs at this point and starting to move this transport boat to this little island with the gas on it. And Fenzia got there first. We'll see who can win that battle. Dr. No cruisers just ripping away, and Fenzia's boats can't move. Kartoffelman's can, but these are 3 orange submarines defending this refinery. It's probably a very good idea from Blue to go down here to check if this exists. I guess Damon's infantry already can see this refinery. Refineries have a negative stealth characteristic to them, so you can see them from further away. Kartoffelman's down the bottom right island has also built all the industry on this little... I mean, I'm not going to be able to use cardinal directions or anything for these little islands. I'm talking about this little island, 4 refineries on it. That's good eco for Orange, who is going to land here on Damon's starting position, and we'll be able to win this fight and then start capping and potentially just push towards this red refinery. Luckily for Damon, they already have a second one. They also have a second energy well that they could build on this northern island. And Bravo Team still doesn't really know that Damon's up here. The trade route, or rather the town, is seen, so that will maybe tip off Bravo Team. And it's going to be pretty devastating if Bravo Team started moving their boats up to the north to destroy this town, because they're going to discover everything else here on Damon's Island. It looks like Red won the RNG battle of how their infantry are trading, because I believe there were 4 for both teams to start off. So Red's going to win that, but Infenzi is going to show up, destroy the transport boat, and it's such a small island that boats for Bravo Team will be able to shell anything on this island, even if Damon gets a foothold there. Clearly, Dr. No has won this battle between Infenzia on this central island, and Blue's starting to just build up a cruiser army and building a port on this town. Dr. No now has 3 refineries, so the energy use isn't really going to be a problem for Blue. Definitely enough refineries to handle how many boats that they have at the moment. Damon builds, a barracks. I think this will be the first unit that pops out. There might be 1 infantry that can get out of this thing before it falls down. And then great move by Damon to move in at this point with this many subs, seeing that Bravo Teams move their navy up to the north. First helicopter is now done for Damon, which can do a lot of damage because there's no missile boats up here. There are a lot of boats for Bravo Team though, threatening this red island in the top right. And Infenzi is going to start landing more units on this island with the gas, which the gas could be very important for both teams. Kartoffelman loses this one. A lot of blue submarines, or red submarines, pardon me. It's very difficult to tell whose submarines are whose in a replay. But you can see these ones disappearing are all Damon's, which is a lot of submarines. I mean, it's 3 submarine pens, so it makes sense that there's a lot of red subs. They're going to start heading down here to start disrupting this landing attempt by Kartoffelman, but 2 full boats at least are going to get landed in general. So this is I mean, all this economy that Damon has on the starting location is going to be destroyed. The airport is now in trouble. The helicopters do get off of it, so they're not going to be destroyed once this airport is, you know, destroyed by these blue boats, unless they decide to land right on... Okay, I thought they were going to try to land on the airport again. So at least there's the 2 helicopters. This one's spinning around looking all badass. They're both going to be able to land up here again, keep chipping away at these boats. But 2 cruisers, this is enough that, thankfully for this red cruiser timing, it's probably going to pop out just in time. And with the help of the helicopters, maybe Damon doesn't lose that dock. It's kind of important to keep watching that. And Dr. No starts to set up this trade route on that central island, building that town. Once the port is complete, Dr. No will be able to start building merchant ships, which will greatly boost their economy. The red cruiser does show up. In exchange for these 2 teal cruisers. Red is going to lose a dock. Kartoffelman's got submarines up here. I think this is, no, okay, so those are Damon subs. Damon subs help out, destroy that cruiser. But Damon will also lose this entire starting island. And what is going on here? Yeah, okay, so it's like a 3v1 situation on that submarine. We can see that the energy is really important. I mean, as soon as Infenzia caps this island, they built this refinery, which just shows how important it is to have energy in a Navy map. At this point, Teal's on 3 refineries. Blue is also on 3 refineries. Has a 4th dock and an airport on the way. This airport could come in handy. Thankfully for Infenzia, I mean, the only thing really in range for this airport is Infenzia's starting base, and there's already 4 SAMs, with a 5th one showing up to get on top of that dot as well. Damon builds 3 barracks in the forest, which is probably a good idea, but unfortunately they are spotted. So the orange infantry are going to fix those pretty quick. 2 helicopters, the 2 helicopters that survived off that airport, are going to destroy this teal refinery. Infenzia builds this one as well in the water. Cruiser now for Damon shows up. It seems like a pretty hectic game on a Navy map, which generally, at least I've found that, you know, like things go a little bit more slowly. There's a more buildup of huge navies before people, you know, fight each other in the middle of the water, but this is just action everywhere. Landing from Infenzia here to help out with this orange infantry. And there's still more subs. These are Damon subs. 4 subs from Damon starting to work on the submarine pen and the dock. Rather, it's 5 subs from Damon. And if we take a top-down look, relatively even on the number of territories conquered at this point. The town is done for Dr. No, so we'll likely see a port very quick, and that's exactly what happens. Decent run-by attempt from these 2 blue destroyers. They're not even going to try to destroy the cruiser. They're only going to attack the gas, which may or may not pay off. Damon destroys the submarine pen, is still pumping out 3 subs at a time and building a launch pad just outside of the forest. So there's no 50% build time reduction to building this launch pad. So probably a very good idea from Damon to build it here. And it's kind of far. It's not really that far. I mean, the island's pretty narrow. So cruisers, if they got close to the shore, will be able to attack this. But launch pads have a stealth characteristic themselves. So you know, like the Bravo team boats are going to have to get pretty close to actually see this. Here comes Damon's submarines. I think these are Damon submarines. Yeah, and they are. We can't see this on Bravo team's vision. 1 cruiser is not going to be enough to actually see these subs. So the subs are going to successfully destroy that refinery. And this is the Navy buildup that we see between the 4 blue docks and the 3 teal docks from Infenzia. It's all cruisers, and we're about to have a cruiser versus cruiser fight. Kartoffelman's dealing with a little bit of energy problems now that this 1 refinery got sniped. It seems as if Damon's trying to make sure that this refinery doesn't get started again, which is super smart. Best way to destroy an opponent that's going for a lot of Navy on a Navy map like this is just destroy their gas, and the boats can't move, and it's not a fun time. There's more blue cruisers here than there are teal cruisers, so the teal cruisers are going to start to try to move away a little bit. In a situation like this, if you're outnumbered, the only real way to win an engagement, in my experience with Navy, is by having more gas and doing exactly this. Kind of microing, popping in and out of range, picking off a few cruisers when you can, and to get a better naval, like a numbers advantage. The trade route is now up for blue. And Dr. No's also building a rocket here in a pretty good location. It's close to the coast, so same thing goes for Damon's rocket. Same situation. If Bravo team gets close enough with the cruisers, they will be able to destroy that launch pad. It just depends if they see it and if they can get boats there in time. And it is strikers out of this blue airport in the bottom left. Great work by Dr. No to destroy these farms in the bottom right from Kartoffel. And I don't know how one infantry got here from Orange, but it did, and it's not going to be able to destroy this town in time. The barracks for Damon is providing a little bit of a garrison. And Red now with 6 submarines. 3 red subs and a cruiser are going to try to take on what is 2 cruisers and I think 4 orange submarines. And you can tell that Kartoffel presumably really needs to keep this gas alive in order to keep the Navy moving. I don't suspect that it will go down, given the numbers. Infenzia now builds an airport. Still continuing to build cruisers. Blue has a little bit of an advantage on how many cruisers they can build because they have an extra dock in comparison to Infenzia, which does matter. It'll be tougher for Infenzia to push through this with just cruisers alone, especially with the strikers in support from Blue. And I stand corrected that this one sub in the back from Damon is able to destroy this refinery. Red Rocket is a third of the way done. Now a full dot of submarines for Red. And Infenzia's built a barracks on Damon's starting location. So Bravo Team is going to be able to take all this. Yellow, or rather Orange, still dealing with a little bit of energy problems. You see the black plumes of smoke on the submarines indicating that they are out of energy. It's a lot of Navy off of just one refinery. And Damon wants to keep this central island, which is I've probably a good call. There's a lot of economy here. This trade, or this town, is also in the middle of a trade route. We'll see how this goes. I think Bravo Team has a little bit of the advantage. Their buildings are already completed first, and then there's still these 2 transport boats for Orange that are ferrying units across. Rocket for Red could be devastating. Dr. No's rocket's going on the stand now. And Dr. No's got a full depot worth of gas, building a second depot to store even more energy. Infenzia also has a full depot of the gas, but only on two refineries at the moment. I believe that this depot could get connected to this Orange refinery. The distance for the pipelines is probably about at the maximum that it can go, but we'll see if that energy sharing comes into play. And Damon is successfully able to build these two ports. They're not really connected to anything now that, you know, Kartoffel was able to destroy that town earlier in the game. This will be pretty devastating. Depending on where the rocket lands, it'll be able to kill 2 docks, a handful of boats, probably a farm or 2. And it's a great location. 2 docks go down, 2 farms, handful of boats. And Infenzia has landed these folks a little bit north, close to this town, so Infenzia now sees that this trade route is up. Potentially they already saw it with the vision, but there's a lot going on this game. Dr. No's positioned these cruisers in such a spot to stop. It's kind of interesting, the positioning, because I think it's a strong positioning for these blue cruisers, because it puts them in a good position to see this teal like navy blob, and whether it goes more central in the map or starts pushing towards Dr. No's docks at home. It's still a numbers advantage for blue. The cruiser's getting close to the coast, which is a great call, so that these teal artillery pieces might be able to help out if any of these blue cruisers get too close. And bombers for Infenzia launching in an effort to stop these blue cruisers from destroying all of the teal cruisers. Rocket for blue is still almost about halfway done, which is important to note. The factory and barracks for red does get taken out, but the refinery is now left exposed again. Damon's got 2 submarines, rather I guess there was a third one, already on top of the refinery, and red might be able to destroy that again. Good moves from blue not to get too close to this artillery on the coast. Slowly the bomber count will increase for teal. There's only one right now. Second one is on the way. There's a full airport worth of strikers in the bottom left for blue, who nearly has this rocket complete. We expect to see this rocket used on Infenzia's main base. But maybe the rocket could reach Kartoffel's starting position if Dr. No decided to send it there as well. And these are all red submarines. There's not really enough boats to be able to fight them. So Damon's actually going to be able to potentially destroy a dock, or even both the submarine pen and the dock. 3 cruisers and 2 yellow subs for Kartoffel are moving down to intercept this. I think that orange will have enough gas, yes. There's enough energy, and also Kartoffel has these 2 towns set up, so they just need ports, pardon me, on these towns to start getting a trade route up. The rocket was obviously used here, my bad, kind of missed it. It destroys a refinery and a farm. And another rocket on the stand now for blue, who's also completing this town to get 2 more trade routes complete and set up, which will be a lot of economy for blue. These 3 red submarines do a great job to pull all the navy for orange that was defending the refinery away. So Damon's able to destroy that. Second rocket for red is a third-ish of the way done. Another refinery now being built for Damon to power these submarines. And it'll be super annoying if Damon actually is able to cap this territory, because it just means that Kartoffel's going to have to recap it in order to build that refinery. Infenzia has built a refinery on the far right. And Bravo Team's starting to build this industry on where this location where Damon had started the game. 3 bombers now for teal. And Infenzia is maybe going to do something sneaky with this transport boat. It looks like this is what the play is going to be. Potentially a landing close to Dr. No's airport. And the first missile boat is out for Dr. No. It looks like it's like 3 docks building cruisers, 1 dock building missile boats now that there are bombers on the field. And 2 more airports on that central location for Dr. No. These airports are definitely in range of Kartoffel if it's bombers. It in fact is bombers. Strikers, we can see this blue line here. This would be the range of the strikers. So strikers as well could be able to get there. But it is bombers. And just a mix of submarines. Anyone's guess as to like what submarines are whose. I mean, these look like they're red submarines. These must be yellow ones, or orange ones rather, because they're not fighting each other. But so far this repeated refinery snipe from Damon here has made it so Kartoffel's not really able to get much of a energy income. It's really just this one refinery now in the south. Second rocket is done for red. We'll probably see it land at the starting location again. And orange also has 2 submarine pens. Submarines great at detection, so they're great at detecting other submarines, and we're seeing just how much Damon is using them in this game. So probably a good call from orange. Great move from Infenzia to go all the way around the north. Now we know where this navy went. Dr. No takes this as the cue to start pushing along the coast to start destroying these docks. It makes sense. I mean, these destroyers at home were the only things that were actually protecting the docks for Infenzia. But I think this is probably worth it. This is going to be 3 trade routes that were up if this town was able to live, like the town and port were able to live. And that would just be so much income for blue. In exchange for that town and, well, I mean, the town doesn't go down, but in exchange for that port, Infensi is going to lose at least one dock, likely two, maybe even all the docks. Strikers, one of their strengths, they can target a building. And they're going to do that. On Infenzia's airport, there's only one SAM left for Infenzia here. That's not enough to defend against 5 strikers. And Damon's all of a sudden super settled here. And has been able to like stabilize in the top right. Still holding on to a rocket. And this is very devastating damage now that Dr. No is doing. It's going to leave Infenzia really just with a barracks and a refinery. Here comes a landing attempt from Infenzia right on top of the airport. 4 infantry, and what's going to be actually like about 10 infantry, will be able to destroy that airport. And importantly, these strikers aren't going to really be ready in time to launch to defend against. Maybe by the time the 2nd and 3rd boats show up, the strikers will be able to get in there. But if Infenzia can destroy this airport with all the strikers on it, then all the strikers die as well. It's not going to be the same situation like what happened to Damon. The helicopters don't need to land on an airport earlier in the game, and Red was able to save 2 of them. Infenzia has destroyed this top left town and port from Dr. No. Is going to start heading up to the north to just finish off what they started on this original town. There's 3 bombers with 2 more on the way for Dr. No on these Central Island airports, and another rocket a third of the way done. So the rocket was launched from Damon. This is now the 2nd rocket I've missed. Who would have guessed it? Probably went towards this refinery, I would suspect, because there was a lot of damage here. And Infenzia really doesn't have that many refineries now. It's just this one on the starting location. Strikers are on the in the air, pardon me. It's now a haste move command with these transport boats, which do successfully land. There's only 4 infantry at home for Dr. No to defend against this. So we'll see if 8 Teal infantry can destroy this airport in time, and I believe the answer is going to be yes. Yes, absolutely. Teal cruisers take out the town. They are not going to be able to get out of here. There's 4 cruisers and a handful of bombers now for Dr. No. They're going to block them off. Airport goes down. There's no airstrip for these strikers to land on, so they're all going to be destroyed. If a plane doesn't have anywhere to land, when it's done its sortie, then it just explodes. I don't make the rules. 9 cruisers destroy a town. They're going to be able to get this submarine pen as well. These are actually orange submarines for Kartoffel, which are doing a great job to kind of stay just outside the range of these cruisers. So the cruisers are focusing on everything on land. And the torpedoes for these orange subs are doing some pretty decent work. But it still leaves Kartoffel in a really weird situation because, I mean, there's a city and a trade route that's about to be set up actually for Orange, going for 4 sub pens. The only problem here is that Kartoffel doesn't really have a lot of energy, and will probably lose this refinery as well. Submarines doing their best to try to kite these cruisers, but Blue's able to haste move the boats to catch up to this. And now Damon's starting to try to reclaim where they started. Aiming for this town, or pardon me, this farm at first. And I heard a rocket, I just didn't know where it was, but there it goes. Dr. No launches what I think is like the 3rd rocket, probably the first one we've actually seen. And if we go top down, territory-wise, it still looks relatively even. But let's check. So Blue's on 693 economy, 591 for Red, 965 for Orange, and 632 for Teal. So Bravo team certainly ahead on the economy side of things. But I think pacing-wise, Alpha Team has the edge. Damon's about to snipe this refinery again in the north. Maybe 3 cruisers and the submarines are going to be able to stop it in time. And this rocket just keeps getting used against Infenzia's refinery. Infenzia has no more refineries at this point. Great snipe by Damon, which leaves these orange boats out of energy. They won't be able to chase the submarines down. Infenzia builds an airport in the mountains. This is a very central location for this airport, which is well within reach of Damon's new base, if Teal can set that up. And it's important to remember that Kartoffel actually has the most economy out of any player right now. So Kartoffel can just rebuild these refineries super quick. It just depends on whether Orange can actually secure them. Because so far, Alpha Team's been doing a great job to deny the energy the whole game. Rocket now for Infenzia. A rocket hit on this would be huge. It would destroy 3 docks. I mean, even a rocket hit on the depots would also be pretty big. And Infenzia can see these. Not sure what the plan is, but a bunch of opportunities. Dr. No rebuilding the town and port, so this trade route will get set up relatively quick. This one will be more delayed since the town's not quite finished yet. And great positioning by the red subs to stay out of range of these orange boats. And maybe just in time? No. Okay. No. Damon snipes this again, and here comes a bunch of bombers off these 2 central airports. Dr. No now has has like 2 full airports worth of bombers. Super interesting game. I feel like I could barely keep up to that. So also apologies that I missed a whole bunch of rockets. And just, I'm sure countless other things on this map. I mean, islands. What a game. Kartoffel's out of here. Infenzia also, GG's. GG, well played all. Interesting game. Island maps, energy, rockets. What else do you need? Yeah, like this was super close. Alpha Team 1 didn't have the income advantage at the end. I mean, we kind of talked about that. Pacing wise though, Alpha Team was crushing it. And let's look at the energy. Yeah. Bravo Team low on energy. I mean, it's just snipe after snipe on the refineries. Well played. Folks, thank you for the support. Thank you for, commenting on the videos, liking them, of course, subscribing. It all helps the channel grow. I hope you have a wonderful night, day, evening, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it is. Twitch.tv/SodaQuackers if you want to watch some gameplay. And of course, check out the Line War Discord to ask some questions, learn about the game. Looking for matches is a wonderful channel in there. We'll see you soon. Peace.